evening, everyone. This is the High School Readiness Program Parent Update on October 2023. My name is Heather Miller. I'm the president of Athena Learning, which brings many programs into New York City schools. One of them is the High School Readiness Program, which we have at AOC. The goal of this program is to make sure all 8th graders know about the amazing options available to them. Our city has 700 high school programs. And we want to make sure that we let students know about the perfect high schools for them, and then to provide the structure and the support so that they have their best shot at gaining admission to the high school of their dreams. As parents in this program, you should feel free to email me with any of your questions. We can set up an appointment to meet. My email address is on the screen. Our first item for today is to remind you to please register for your high school entrance exams. I want to ask you to try to do it today or tomorrow, not put it off, because these things have a way of getting away from us and then it's too late to register. So for those of you whose children are planning on applying to specialized high schools, they need to register for the entrance exam. The deadline is Friday, October 27th, 2023 for the CHSAT. For students applying to Catholic schools, the deadline to register for the Catholic school exam, which is the TAKS, is next Thursday, October 26th. For students applying to the independent Catholic schools, such as Fordham Prep or Regis, if you're applying to Regis, you submit your entire application on October 24th. That automatically registers you for the HSBT at Regis. If you are not applying to Regis, but are applying to Fordham Prep, please register for the HSPT at Fordham on November 15th. If you're applying to both schools, the HSPT you take at Regis, the scores can be sent to Fordham Prep, so you don't have to take it twice. If you're applying to independent schools, private schools, boarding schools, some of these schools, such as the Garden School in Jackson Heights, has its own merit scholarship exam. You can call them and register for it. But most boarding schools and independent schools will accept the SSAT or ISEE. Please check on each school's website for deadlines and specifics. It's important that if your child has an IEP or a 504, that they qualify and are registered for extra time and accommodations on the SHSAT or the TAKS. We do know that at Regis, there will be no extra time given to students on the HSPT, but you ought to be able to be given extra time on the SHSAT and on the TAKS. So please make sure that that has been noted in your child's registration for those exams. We're going to move on to art schools. Here in New York City, we have some very strong art schools, and it's quite competitive to get into them. Your child can apply for instrumental music, voice, drama, dance, visual art, film, and technical theater. Your child can even apply to all of these at once. But we have to be realistic, because for each of these, we call them majors, your child must submit an audition or a portfolio. And these have to be done at quite a high standard. So as a way of thinking about it, I would recommend that you think that you have to invest about 40 hours into one portfolio or an audition in order for it to be truly at the level that will merit close consideration for admission. So if we're beginning to put this together now in October and it's due quite soon, we're on the late side. Some students have been working on it since the beginning of 7th grade. Some students took a course over the summer where they got it all done. But for those of us who are starting now, we have to really focus and we have to make excellent use of the remaining time. Applying to an art school in New York City is as demanding in its own way as preparing for the CHSAT exam. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're supporting the visual arts candidates at AOC for high school application to an art school. Each of the drawings or paintings you see on the screen is something that needs to be submitted for a high school application. You can see 3 pencil drawings on the screen. One is a still life up here with a fruit. One is a self-portrait. One is a life drawing. Each of these things are drawn from either real objects, not from photographs, or real people. And each of these pencil drawings would take somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, believe it or not. They may look rather simple. They may look like wouldn't take that long, but really to get them to a high standard, that's how long it takes. In addition to those pencil drawings, they have to do a drawing. In some schools, it's optional. In some schools, it's required, of what's called a fantastical sandwich. And you can see this one down here where I'm pointing is a fantastical sandwich. They get to choose their media. And then they can choose a few other drawings or paintings that show their styles. And it's a good idea for them to show their ability to work in different styles, maybe to work in different media, perhaps to do a landscape, perhaps to do a more conceptual piece. So it's an invitation to show their range. So you can imagine if they have to produce 7 of these things, 3 of them to very precise instructions, and each of which takes about 6 hours to do. We're looking at a lot of work. So right now, this week, we are providing the opportunity for students to work on their self-portrait. The school has provided drawing boards and all the materials that they need, and also the time that they need. So they're given time every day to work on their self-portrait. And our expectation is that by Friday, they will have it done. And they need to have it done because we need to move on to the next piece of the portfolio. So to give you an idea of the kind of support that's happening at school, every week we're going to focus on one of those 7 pieces that we just looked at. We're going to begin on Monday. So on Monday, they will learn how to do the piece that's the piece of the week. There are tutorials that the New York City Department of Education has provided that are very helpful. They will be given time to look at those tutorials. They'll also be given time on Mondays to begin work on that particular piece of the week. And on Tuesday through Thursday, they'll be given at least 1 period during the day to work on their piece. And then on Friday, they'll be given 1 period to complete the piece and another period to have the piece photographed, uploaded, and saved with the right naming structure. So you can see that if students miss a day, are absent, are late, it will really set us back, and we frankly don't have the time. There isn't any time to make up. So please make sure that your students, if they're applying to art schools, really if they're applying to any schools, that they come every single day between now and the time at which we're going to have to upload and deliver these items. We're going to move on to the test prep programs at school that we're offering at school and also on Zoom. We're offering test prep programs for SHSAT and TAKS. We are aware that we have some schedule conflicts next week. We're going to be sending out a revised schedule. If not today, then on Wednesday of this week. TAKS, the Catholic school exam, is the more straightforward of the 2 exams. So on the TAKS exam, we're going to spend about half of our time on the abilities section, which is rather unusual. But the SHSAT is a much more difficult exam, and I want us to be realistic and to manage expectations. Many students start preparing for the Shasat a year before they have to take it. Some students even start preparing when they're very small children. So if your child has not yet started preparing for the Shasat, it may be unlikely that they'll be able to prepare effectively in the time that is left for success on the Shasat. You know your child well, much better than anyone else, so you're going to make the call. But I'm just proposing that if your child is applying for screened schools for which they'll have to write essays, and or art schools for which we've just seen they have to do a portfolio or audition, it may be wiser at this point to skip the SHSAT and instead to invest time on the essays, the portfolios, the auditions, because we don't want to spread ourselves too thin in the little time that we have left. You might also keep in mind that you can apply for the Shasat in 9th grade for 10th grade entry. You can't apply both years. You have to apply either 8th grade or in 9th grade. So just something to keep in mind. The big picture here is that today is October 17th. We are aiming to have the My Schools lists, the screened school essays, and of course, most of the entrance exams done by November 17th. So it is crunch time. We have 1 month to go. And if we meet this deadline, which is about 2 weeks before the official deadline of December 1. That will allow you and your family to truly enjoy Thanksgiving. But it does mean that we have to focus and work hard. We're aiming for this November 17th deadline, not just so that you can have a great Thanksgiving with your family, but also because at the school, we need to check that every student's materials have been uploaded correctly. And on occasion, they are not uploaded correctly. And when that happens, the child's application just doesn't get considered at a given school. So please respect the fact that we have quite a lot of work to do on our end after the materials have been uploaded. Some of the things your child may be needing to do for high school admission, you're probably aware of this, but you can see how much there is going on. In some cases, for a student is doing all of these things pretty much at once. So for the screen schools like Bard and Townsend Harris, there are essays, some cases video statements. For the arts high schools, we've already gone over, there are portfolios and auditions. In addition, there may be video statements. For the Shasat, there is a 3-hour entrance exam. There are no breaks during that exam. Please make sure your child has breakfast on the day of the exam. And you already know that a substantial amount of preparation goes into getting ready to take that exam. For the parochial Catholic schools, the tax exam needs to be taken. And for select Catholic schools, the HSPT exam, which is an exam of comparable difficulty to the SHSAT, needs to be taken. It's also a 3-hour exam. And of course, private schools and boarding schools will have their own requirements. Now we're going to talk about the structure and support that we're giving at AOC to help your children so that you don't feel like you have to do this at home. The students will be given time to complete their essays. Some of your children will be writing 6 essays or more to apply to screen schools. We are going to give them the structure, support, and the time to write those essays at school. And same thing for the video statements. Same thing for the portfolios and auditions, although realistically, you will need to support that effort at home as well. We are giving sort of last minute Shasat and tax test prep. If you're applying to private and boarding schools, you will have to write essays. If you would like me to take a look at them, I'd be happy to do so and give you feedback. So other ways we're supporting 8th graders is school selection. I'm meeting with each 8th grader twice to work on their My Schools list. The first meeting is just to meet your child, get to know what their goals are for high school. And then the second meeting involves you, the parent, and you can come in person or via Zoom or speakerphone. And together with your child, we will work on finalizing their My Schools list. We'll be doing that very soon. A good list is a list that is diversified. So that means that, we have these different categories that you see here in boxes. It would be a good idea to apply to maybe 4 different categories of school. It just gives you that many more choices and options and likelihood of getting into a great high school. Another way to diversify the list is to make sure that on the My Schools list, your child has some schools that don't have a huge number of applicants per seat. There are some hidden gems in our 700 high school programs that are rather undersubscribed, that may have only 1, 2, or 3 applicants per seat. In contrast, some of the more popular schools may have 15 or even 20 applicants per seat. And while it's fine if you're a good student to apply to those high demand schools, we should also have some of these hidden gems on our lists that have fewer applicants. And that just balances the school list out. Keep in mind that your child will have 12 schools that they can list. Each of those schools on their list should be a school that they would be happy to attend. Maybe not thrilled, but happy. You could be assigned to your 12th ranked school. So please don't put any school on your list that you're not really okay with having your child attend. The challenge of high school applications in New York City is the massive size of our student population. We have approximately 100,000 eighth graders. So even if your child is in group 1, which means that they have, an A average, which is very impressive, they still have plenty of company in this 100,000 student cohort as they apply to the best high schools. The sheer number of students adds a great deal of challenge. And also the lottery number system adds a degree of luck in the mix here. So we have a few strategies to get around this process as best we can. One is, we've already mentioned, diversifying your list. Another is applying to screen schools or art schools, which either dilute the lottery number or take us out of the lottery number altogether. Shasat does that as well. Another, we've already covered, diversifying the list in terms of the numbers of applications per seat. And then making sure that all of the ancillary materials, whether it's an essay, a video, a portfolio, is as strong as it possibly can be. So we're going to go over who should you contact for what. If you have a question about something in the My School system, some data point about your child, please contact the high school placement coordinator, Miss D. You can see her email address on the screen. If you have a question about registering for test prep or paying for test prep, please contact operations at the email on the screen. And if you have a question about the strategy of how you're applying to high schools, or you want support with finding more high schools, or you're maybe thinking of applying to private school or boarding school, or you're applying to some other school and you would really like a scholarship, anything related to that, please feel free to email me directly. My email is on the screen. So now we're going to talk about what we need from you, the parents. First and foremost, please send your child to school every day and on time. This is really not a great time to be gone even for one day. So please send your child to school every day, and please make every effort to have your child come to school on time every day. There simply isn't enough time for us to make up any time that we lose going forward. Please bear with us, and especially me, if in the next few days I don't respond to you as quickly as I would like. I'm usually very fast in responding. Typically, I respond within a few hours. If I haven't responded within 48 hours, please feel free to resend the email to me, but I should be pretty soon getting back to my speed. Please check your email every single day between now and November 17th. So now's the perfect time to double check that we have the correct email address and phone number for you with a school. Also note, it's an exciting and stressful time for eighth graders. We're trying to make it a very positive experience where they're rising to the challenge, but it's undoubtedly stressful. So please talk to them at home about their high school dreams and goals, keeping it very positive, and also give them a chance to talk about something completely different. Healthy food is as important as it's ever been, as they're required to do so many different things. And consistent bedtime. They're working really hard, so they need lots of sleep, and sleep is more important than study. They will do better on these tests if they get enough sleep, more important than test prep. That's it. We will be coming back to you with more information soon. Thanks so much for listening.